Hello everyone. So, the Eminence in Shadow. Now, I think we can all agree with the title of my video that the Eminence in Shadow is dumb, but it works. Now let me explain why that is. So first of all, we've got the story that is mainly split into like two different parts. So the first part is based on Sid, or Shadow, for the rest of the video I'm going to call him Shadow, who is obsessed with being a background character, but wants to be the Eminence in Shadow. So in other words, he wants to be the overpowered background character, not the overpowered main character. Not only that, he thinks Alpha and the rest of Shadow Garden are like playing this game with him. I'm not sure if that's still true with the ending of the episode, but so I could be wrong about it. But I must admit, he does get a bit jealous of Beta, Gamma, and Epsilon, who like takes all the knowledge of his previous knowledge that he gives them and uses it to like pretty much benefit themselves. Like Beta becomes a famous writer in the world, Gamma builds a successful shopping mall business, and Epsilon becomes a very famous piano player. Now on to the other part of the story with Shadow Garden, the organization that Shadow created, with the girls he saved from being mutant monsters that he reversed with his magic. On a different note, I'm not sure if there's any like male characters in Shadow Garden, apart from Shadow himself, but like I said, that's another topic. Anyway, they fight a cult called the Cult of Diablos, and we see them fight throughout this series. The one thing that I think most of us can say is that we barely know anything about mainly Shadow Garden. Like throughout the series we learn about the Cult of Diablos, but we know very little of Shadow Garden. Like for example, we only know of the 7 shadows, so Alpha, Beta, Gamma, and we also knew Nu as well. But we don't know any other organization members. Like the only time we got introduced to new ones were the 2 numbers, the Commander, and Rose joining Shadow Garden in the very last episode. So apart from them, we know very little about Shadow Garden. Like we don't know how far they stretch, how much they influence. So that's one of the reasons I brought the light novel, because I want to see, is there like a page or two that was cut out of the anime that details this, because obviously that's what happens when a light novel gets animated. That's what happens. So I'm looking forward to digging my teeth into them and reading them and see if there was a slight detail missed. On the other hand, episode 1 to 9 covered only the first volume. So that's really interesting that they went into detail, but they might, like I said, they could have skipped a page or two, which I'll find out. But I don't know like what the rest of the anime covers. Like does it cover only volume 2, or does it cover both 2 and 3? I don't know, but I'll find out when I read it. Now here's why I think it's dumb. Here we have these 2 like secret organizations, even though they become less secret as the series goes on. So here we have the Cult of Diablos, run by the Knights of Round, or Knights by Rounds, I'm not sure which way it goes, want to dominate the world basically, make everything under their control. Then we have Shadow Garden, which was founded by a guy who's overpowered, but he just wants to be a background character, not like the main character. I know that it feels like he's oblivious to what like is really going on in the world, and he's like in his own like fairy tale and stuff like that. I actually think there's another series that sort of goes like this. I think it's called Mushoku Tensei, where again he gets reincarnated into another world. He spends a lot of time thinking that he's reincarnated, is his second life, and so forth. But then there's a certain point in the story where he leaves his old life behind fully, like he leaves everything, like his memories and everything, and just fully accepts of who he is in the story. So I have to admit, that is definitely the part I look forward to if it's going to happen, with Shadow like, you know, going, oh wait a minute, everything I've said, everything that's going on is actually true. There is a cult, they are dominating the world, and my, you know, Shadow Garden is, you know, fighting them and all that. So it will be interesting to see how that goes. With that said, on to characters. Now, I don't dislike any of them, like even the villains. Like I feel like every single character played their role spectacularly. And even now, I don't have any like top favorites. After I read the light novel, I might make another video giving my like top 5 or top 10 characters of the show. I'll tell you what, someone leave a comment below if you really want that to be made or stuff. But aside from that, if I had to ship Shadow with someone, I would say I would ship him with Rose. Now, I know some people do ship him with pretty much the main, like, 7 shadows, like, mainly with Alpha and Beta. I'm not saying they're bad, but it does feel like most of their things are made up of them being grateful for him to saving them. So I don't know if we can call that, you know, true love, but I'm not judging. The most popular one I would definitely say is probably Shadow with Alexia. Now, I'm not against it. I think, you know, it's got some good points, but they're too similar, I think, way too similar. So I must admit, I wouldn't be against it, but it's not my favourite. So the reason I choose, you know, Shadow and Rose is because it feels like Rose does care for him deeply, and we're talking about him being Sid and Shadow, because she keeps like the wrapper of the burger that Sid gives her before she goes off and does her own thing. And then throughout the last few episodes, the only person she worries about who thinks of her is Sid. And then she literally bursts into tears when the commander, I think, of the training of the numbers, and rips it in front of her eyes. So yeah, I think that those two are compatible with each other. If you disagree, you disagree. So overall, I think The Eminence in Shadow is a good series. I definitely say it's not for everybody because of a character like Sid / Shadow, you know, how they are and stuff, you know, being oblivious to the world. And I cannot wait to dig my teeth into the light novel, as I've said. But I'm also playing the gacha game of Eminence in Shadow, and to be perfectly honest, I've been really enjoying it. I've been really getting into it. I literally log on every single day. So I've been really enjoying that. And that's the end of this video. Thank you very much for watching, and hopefully you'll watch the next one, okay? See ya!